Jiu-jitsu is destructive to your body. It's also disgusting. You roll around and people sweat. They sweat in your eyes and mouth. You get tied into a pretzel all the time, which is uncomfortable and sometimes results in injuries. And you end up feeling like you're getting waterboarded a lot. Guys end up on top of you, just smashing all the air out of your lungs and twisting your arm and sweating into your mouth at the same time. It's just not nice. It's not fun, and it's over and over and over and over and over again that you're just getting pounded into the mats. So why would you ever do this? Well, the short answer is it will enable you to achieve a level of personal development that you wouldn't otherwise be able to achieve. It forces you to confront your ego. It forces you to deal with your emotions under duress. It forces you to make decisions under stress, and so on. So this will help forge you into being more of a man than you otherwise would. And really, of all the martial arts that are worth engaging in, which I would consider to be, grappling like jiu-jitsu, throwing like judo, and some kind of distance fighting like boxing, some kind of fisticuffs, and maybe kickboxing, maybe Muay Thai, something like that. If you combine those three, you have a pretty complete system to make you into a formidable human, and you should engage in those things. But to just start out and to take the lowest risks, you would start with jiu-jitsu, because you can go the hardest with the least amount of risk. The thing about risk is it needs to be managed correctly. And I myself had this problem, and I've watched many other people start, come into their first couple of classes, and they make the same mistakes. And the basic problem is that you go in there and you want to go 100%. Your fight or flight response kicks in your brain, and you just start going as hard as you can. And especially the first few classes, people tend to be very twitchy, and they're trying new things, they're trying new movements that they've never done before, so they're very sporadic and spastic. And so you end up with surprising angles and surprising amounts of force that are just you wouldn't otherwise do once you have some experience, and you get injured that way. And the other thing that happens is people aren't careful about choosing their training partners. So some people are legitimately out to hurt you, especially guys from a wrestling background. Now, what wrestling is and why this is an issue is a whole separate video. But a lot of guys that come from a wrestling background, they have it in their mind that by injuring the people around them or by smashing them as hard as they can reduce the number of people that are competition for them. And this is part of the culture. A lot of wrestlers aren't even aware that they're doing that, but that is what the result is. Guys get hurt. You go against a wrestler, you go against the wrong wrestler, and you're in an ego battle, and this guy really has some bad intentions for you, and the result's going to be an injury. So you need to pick somebody. You need to pick a set of people that you're going to train with who have your health and your safety at heart when they're rolling with you and when they're practicing with you. And you likewise need to behave that way as well. You need to have your training partner's best interests in mind at all times. If you don't, what will happen is no one that cares will want to train with you, and so you'll end up rolling with the people that don't care, and you'll get injured. So one thing that I've made a mistake, and a lot of people make a mistake when they start jiu-jitsu, I was like an equal opportunity roller. I would just roll with whoever. And all of my injuries have come from rolling with people who didn't have my best interests in mind. They aren't necessarily trying to hurt me, but at the same time, they're using way more strength than is necessary. And they're doing things that are just wild and unnecessary sometimes. And the reality of jiu-jitsu is you're gonna get hurt anyway. So you need to do everything you can to mitigate this. And probably the single biggest mistake that beginners make with jiu-jitsu is they use strength. They try to use strength. So they'll start trying to learn a technique, and of course, you can't just pick up a technique and start using it. Just because the coach showed you how to do this, whatever ninja roll into an arm bar, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do that. Or like somebody showed you how to take someone's back and then put a choke on them. Just because you were able to get around them and somehow get into this choke position doesn't mean you know how to finish that choke. And so what a lot of people will do, they get to the point where they're like 90% of the way there, their arm is around the neck, everything is where they think it needs to be, but the details aren't quite right, and so they start adding strength to finish it off. And this is how you get hurt. That's how you end up tweaking your neck out or cranking on something too hard and popping something, and this is what happens. You cannot add strength. Now, almost universally, when people start their first like dozen classes, dozen sessions, they just full strength. Everything they try to do, 100% strength. It's such a mistake. Now, once a guy calms down and starts to recognize, okay, I need to pace myself and I need to look out for my partner a little bit, and I also don't like it when my partner fires back with strength, so they chill out. But if you go into that with understanding, like, okay, I need to be chill, I need to be relaxed, I need to not use strength on any of these movements, and consciously work towards that, you'll significantly improve your experience and reduce the probability of injury. So those are some mistakes on getting started with jiu-jitsu. But the question still remains, why would you ever do jiu-jitsu, really? And the answer comes down to how other people perceive you. In the modern times, the probability that you're ever going to use jiu-jitsu for an actual confrontation is very low. Society is very ordered and very modern, and even if society broke down, you still probably wouldn't use jiu-jitsu much. It would be a very rare case. So the question becomes, why would you spend all this hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on the mat getting smashed to learn these highly specialized skills that you're virtually guaranteed to never use? You're not going to use these on the street. And the answer is people's perceptions of you change. When you become a formidable man and able to handle yourself against other men recognize this in you. You switch from having that beta, simpy, weak look to you. Even if you're going to the gym and stuff, you can still see it. Like, you look at a bodybuilder, a fighter who looks at a bodybuilder, he immediately sees who this guy is. He can tell if a guy can handle himself or not. It's their general demeanor. It's the way that they handle it, they move, their body language, just everything about it either says, this guy is not a threat or this guy is a threat. And men naturally classify other men when they first meet, threat or non-threat, in this way. And this classification is very useful when you're doing business. Okay, if you're going to interact in an office or any kind of a business situation where there's going to be a transaction involved, both parties are sizing each other up. And I can tell you from personal experience that the guy who's fit and who activates that evaluation algorithm to spit out this guy is a predator and a killer, it's going to give you an advantage. So that's the main reason to do jiu-jitsu, is it will instill in you this predatory killer look. People will just be able to see, like, this guy's, when someone looks at a jiu-jitsu guy who's been doing it for a while, they don't see a simp. What they see is a panther that's waiting to jump on them and twist them into pieces and rip them apart. That's what people see when they see someone who's in good shape and who's regularly hitting those mats, and just they have that look in their eye, and the general way that they handle themselves. You can just see it. Okay, this guy's a threat. Don't mess with this guy. Give him some basic levels of respect. And it's that whole thing is very deep in your mind. So intentionally going to the gym and subjecting yourself to discomfort is going to forge this into you, and is the reason that you should engage in jiu-jitsu. So I hope that's given you some ideas about jiu-jitsu and combat sports in general. I highly encourage men to engage in boxing and judo as well. Although I'll warn you that you're going to get hurt more in judo, or you're likely to get hurt more in judo and boxing. And it depends on your area, though. I found that, like where I am now, there's no jiu-jitsu school near me. So I have to go to judo. And I ended up I broke my two joints in my fingers as soon as I started training, because I went against some people who were going too hard, and I I'm just a newbie. I don't really understand. My hands aren't developed for that stuff. And so I grabbed a gi and pulled and twisted, and it broke a couple of joints. Busted me up pretty good. Now I'm out for 2 months. I've been out, and I still can't grab with strength in that hand. So I can't train. I can't even hardly do a push-up on the ground. So just one fraction millisecond of a mistake, and all your training gets set back. And that is, it is what it is. It's just something to be aware of. If you go do boxing and you go do judo, you're more likely to get hurt. But that being said, you should still engage in those things, because those things will give you a complete picture, and they may be all that's available in your area. Now, I'll say one more thing about these sports. Where I was living before this, I wanted to start boxing, but there was no boxing gym. It was a smaller town. They had a Jiu Jitsu gym, but no boxing gym. Nobody boxed. What they did have is the local gym had a punching bag set up in a corner, like off in the dungeon in a corner. There was a punching bag. So I went down there. I started hitting that thing. I never hit a bag before. I watched some Tony Jeffries on YouTube. Got some tutorials. Started working on jab cross and footwork and just basic drills. And one day I was down there, and somebody else came, and they wanted to hit the bag. And I didn't even. They showed up and started right when I did. So I sat back and watched. And this guy hit the bag a few times, and I went to him and I said, "Hey, you want to spar?" I'd never sparred anybody. And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." I didn't have a mouthpiece. I didn't have headgear. I just had my gloves. And, we started sparring. And you know what happened? The next thing that happens is somebody who knows how to box sees two idiots over here acting the fool, pretending like they're going to spar. So we're over there, I'm sure we looked ridiculous trying to spar each other, but somebody who actually knows how to box was like, "Oh, these guys are trying," and he came over and started talking to us, and he started coaching us. And that guy showed me I learned quite a bit from him. I didn't have to pay. I didn't have to go to some gym membership. I got a free lesson straight out of the box, and I made some new contacts, and I started, networking with them. And that's how opportunities work. You show up, you look like an idiot, but you're putting in the work, and things start to work out for you. And the overall lesson there is good across the board for business, for jobs. It doesn't matter in life. You're going to look stupid. So what? It's part of the process. You're going to fail until you succeed. And that's the basic model. So all those things being said, go out, engage in combat sports, and start putting in that time on the mats. And nothing will replace it. People will see you different. You will see yourself different. You will be different. And so I hope this has given you some things to think about. Get out there and start doing it.